not quite cooperating. Let's see here, but if you can see it. Sort of. There we go. That ought to hold it pretty good. All right. Now, I've already knit this hat. I use the term loosely. Machine knit it. But these are not skillless machines. You do have to know, basic fundamentals of how they operate so that you don't drop stitches, or if they drop stitches, what to do. And then taking it off it's a tedious thing to have to do. It's not difficult, but I'll admit when my daughter first showed me how to do this, and my daughter, my 10-year-old daughter at the time, she's 11 now. No, she was 9 at the time, excuse me. My 9-year-old daughter at the time taught me how to do this, which is no surprise because children's brains are far more elastic than ours. They can learn so much quicker. They can get so much better at doing things than adults can. It's just amazing. My daughter has taught herself to crochet, knit, how to use these machines and knit, and then getting me to use them and teaching me how to. She also taught me how to crochet, which I'm not that good at, and honestly I've got some bad carpal tunnel. One that I had operated on a long time ago, and the other one I didn't, so it's real hard for me to hold the needles. But that being said, my daughter as an instructor was fantastic. Better than any adult. Okay, let's see here. Now what I'm doing is these machines, anybody that's familiar with them will know this, anybody that's not familiar will not. You've got pins on here. You got 48 pins that go around in a circle. Okay, the way that, and I am not a knitter or crocheter or whatever you want to call it, the way that this works is when it goes around this circle, the yarn feeds in right here. The pins are on this thing that lift them up for a second. There's like a little ramp and it goes down. When that pin comes up, it pops through the yarn that's already been spun on here, and it grabs this yarn and it makes a loop. So it's making 48 loops every time it goes around. When you take this off of here, you have to grab each of those loops, because if you don't and you miss one or one drops, which is the term dropping a stitch, when you go to pull this thing tight and close it, because this right here is going to be about that big when I get done. When I draw it closed, it's going to tighten up to a small circle. If you've got any stitch that's missing, it will pull out and the whole hat will unravel. So you've got to make sure you catch it. And when I first started, the way I did this was one by one. If you're not familiar with the machine, and I still make mistakes and I'll accidentally do this the wrong way or do it while I'm not ready, and it'll pull a stitch off. But I recommend when you first start out, do one at a time. But then you can do it where you go and have like 6, 7, 8 of them right here, and then you just pick them up with your yarn needle. You've got a yarn needle on the end of your yarn, and whenever we start the new hat here in just a moment, I'll show you about leaving the tail on it and all that stuff. But this is basically the end of the yarn right here that you're going to leave when you first put it onto the machine. And by the way, this is the this is the fourth machine that we've had. We've still got 2 other ones of the older ones that we've worn out, but y'all, we've made easily over 1,000 hats. My daughter and I, when we first started, I got her one machine and she was using it, and I thought that just looks pretty neat. I'd like to try it. So she showed me how to cast on and how you wind it and stuff. And so to keep my arms from wearing out, I would do it with my right arm, and then I'd switch to the other side and do it with my left because, well, you can't do it with your left sitting here the same as you do it with your right because it's only on one side. So you've got to jump the other one, but you've got to wind it in a different direction. So it's kind of like the patting your head while you're rubbing your stomach thing. You've got to like think for a second like what you're really doing, but uh, it's I mean it's fun first off, but second off you can make money with these things. This is what my daughter initially had come to me with and said, "Listen, I want to start like a family business. Wouldn't that be so cool?" And I was like, "Yeah, that would be pretty neat. Make yourself some money or do something that you enjoy, but learn a trade. You never know. Sometimes people make a career out of things that they just enjoy as kids for fun. So I had a lady tell her one day, and I had told my daughter this because I like to encourage her. As a young woman, especially, it's tough for everybody these days, but she's got two older sisters who are my older daughters. One's in her early 20s, and the other one is 17. And so she looks at her older sisters, and they don't do much crocheting, knitting, stuff like that. That one of them has a job and goes to school, and the other one is still in school, in high school. But she's like, I want to do something and like have my own business, and she's really, really excited about it and wants to do that. And I'm like, hey, if that's what you want to do, I'm definitely all for it because I would love nothing more than you to work for yourself instead of somebody else who's making money off of your back. All right, now what I've done is I've cast it off. What I just picked up with the yarn that you saw me doing with the needle and the yarn, I cast it off, I got it off the machine, and then I just pull it tight. And what you see is, like I said, when I pulled it tight, let me show you real quick, it comes to a point just like the top of a hat or the inside of a hat, right? Which is what it's going to be, double-sided. So you've got that part. I just cinched it tight, tied it, and now I left a piece of about 12 to 16 inches on this, right? The other end that when you first cast on is already got the yarn through the stitches, because when you first cast on and you skip every other one and then you go to winding, that first one, it goes ahead and catches all those. So you just have to take the string and pull it and it tightens up. What I do is I hold this so that you have something to grip on, because you're going to want to pull this up to here and get them both together. You want to attach them so that they connect it at one point. And I'll show you why. All right. So you make sure you go all the way around, get all of them, right? If you miss one, it's not going to drop and unravel, but you're going to have a big loop sticking out. It's going to look ugly. If it's the inside of the hat, it's not as important. You can tie a little knot and kind of protect it from getting caught or snagged on anything. Or if you want to be able to do it inside and out and have it reversible, you've got to make sure that it's tight, of course. So here's what I do is I tied the inside one. I've got the outside one, right? I'm going to grab it from the inside one again, hold it up. Okay, so now I just pulled the outside one as tight as I can, as close as I can to the inside one. So I've got both the inside and outside strings holding them side by side. See, I've got two strings right here. Okay, what I do, I just tie them together into a real good square knot. Because remember, they've got yarn through every stitch. I've tied them off. Cut it off with maybe a 1/2 inch left, you know, just so that if it tightens up a little bit, needs a little bit of slack or something, so that it doesn't just completely untie itself. But now you're left with a two-sided or double-sided beanie, right? It's 2 layers. And this works better with different colored ones, like this right here, if you want to like reverse it, because they do basically the opposite or complete opposite of this pattern will be on the inside. So you flip it inside out and you've got the opposite pattern, right? And this is a real long one. I did this because I was finishing off a skein, so it's got 100 and this is 135 rows. So this is going to be something like people that ski, and yeah, acrylic, if it gets wet, it's not going to ruin it. They have wool, they have all kinds of different stuff that you can buy that's real high quality. These are kind of your medium to low tier quality. They're not low quality, but they're something you can just buy at like Michael's or Hobby Lobby, something like that. We've got stuff that's a little bit heavier. This one's real light, but I like it because it's real stretchy, so it pulls very tight. The stitches are very tight, and it stretches a lot, so that if somebody wants to put it on and have it feel real snug, it works like that. This one is a lot heavier. It's called Pearl Spun, and you can get this at Hobby Lobby. This is just a solid color right here. So, and I'll show you what like you get real good at getting those stitches like that, and you can just grab all 48 of them, pull them tight, and then you've got a good looking center of the hat. Same thing on the inside, but you can see where I tied it off right there. But the same thing, do it both sides like that, and it'll look very nice and uniform. Nice uniform stitch. And this is, see the difference in stitches. Let me show you this. Okay, this is about 75, 80 stitches with the one that I just showed you, the real stretchy, pulls real tight. This is about 75 or 80 of the one that I just did. It's not as tight, but you can see it makes a bigger hat because it doesn't stretch. It naturally just makes a bigger stitch. So like it's not pulling against itself, I guess is what I'm saying. So different yarns, you're going to use different amounts of stitches. We had to learn that the hard way because we just figured, well, we'll put 100 rows in every hat, you know, and everything will be nice and uniform. It doesn't really work that way. Some you need 100, some you need 120. Others you need 80, 75. And some you can't make hats out of. They've got some real loose yarn. I'll show you here in just a second, this stuff that I'm about to use. Now this is Walmart quality yarn. I'm going to use this on purpose. This right here is it's Mandala. I can't remember the brand, but it's a real good brand. I mean, they Lion's Mane or Lion brand or Lion yarn or something, but it's something Lion. And this is it's called Mandala or Ombre. I think this is Ombre, this is Mandala, and they got different names for the colors. This is like, I want to say this is called like Groot or something, the color scheme. But it's got 3 or 4 colors. This has got 3 or 4 colors. But this comes in a big like value pack, right? This is several hundred yards. This is only a couple or a few hundred yards. All right, let me get the machine. Reset the counter, which honestly on these cheaper machines like this, and I say cheaper because this one was 40 bucks. And let me show you this as well. I put Sentro in the title. You say it doesn't say Sentro, it says Miyaoki, right? It's the exact same company who makes the Sentro machines, but it's about $10 cheaper, $5 to $10 cheaper than the Sentro machines. And I'll tell you this, because it's made out of a different plastic. And when I say that, the plastic is different in the sense that it's a lot more brittle and stiff. But I like that because the Sentro machines, their legs, you see how thin their legs are? They have a plastic that's a lot more flexible, malleable, it bends more, it's softer on the Sentro ones. So the legs flex a lot. And when you're going to wind this thing, if you catch on a stitch, or say there's a knot in your yarn and it comes up through this tensioner, this is your tensioner, right? It's got loose, medium, tight. Yeah, my daughter painted my nails, so what? These are the tensions, right? And then it's got this thing right here, little button, so that if it gets caught, it can pull up and not just immediately snap this piece or snap your yarn. It gives you a little bit of play, right? If you catch a stitch on that real flexible plastic machine, the whole machine like flexes and moves. They've got little suction cups on the bottom, which they don't last very long either. As soon as they get dirty or a little bit, they harden as they stay out in the air. They're not as good, right? But this stiffer plastic just gives you more firm control of the machine, because I like to hold the leg of it while you're cranking it, so that it doesn't move around, because it will start to move. So let me get this yarn started. Let me show you this. We'll start with this one, and this is kind of my little jerry-rigged system. But skeins that come where they don't unravel very easy, and these come in little smaller, about that size skeins. But they just, they're not easy to handle all the time. So what I did, and I got very used to doing this with a lot of the ones that come in like skeins like this. Skeins like this, you cannot get it to come off there with these machines. You have to unspool it and then spool it back onto something. And they make yarn winders and machines and all this stuff. You get some paper towel or toilet paper rolls. You get a 97-cent paper towel dispenser like this. I got 2 of them just to make it heavier. Do like that. And y'all, this stuff, it comes right off. You have to have no tension coming off the skein. Now, when you put it in the tensioner, it's going to tension it going into the hat or whatever you're making, the panel, whatever. But if you've got any tension on the skein, it will drop stitches. I don't know why or the physics of it, but it will drop stitches. That's just I've learned that the hard way. And I've tried adjusting it with this, put it on the loosest tension you can get so that you let it just pull off the thing, and it just Doesn't work. So, all right, when you cast on, I leave about that much. So you're talking 10 inches, right? Just say a foot. Take a ruler, make it about as long as a ruler. Crank it, you're gonna go behind the first one, in front of the second one. Behind, in front, behind, front. And you just do that the whole way. There's one white peg, the rest of them are pink. So that white peg tells you basically where you started. Now you can start wherever you want to, and you can switch it out and get pink pegs and put it in there if you want them all the same. But it's good to mark that starting point for just casting on specifically. And also so you can count stitches as well. If you don't want to bother with trusting that little winder, that is the counter, then it helps to see this, because every time it pops up, you know, that's one row. Let me see if I can find this little, where is that counter? Counters that they put in these things are cheap. Okay, honestly, the whole machine again costs like $40. So I probably imagine that little counter, the row counter, costs 50 cents, something like that. So counting them as they go by helps a lot. But I also have one of these that I hold in my hand. That is a row counter. You can hear it, it's audible, which also helps. But I started on the same one. It's on row one, and then you just start cranking. And I'm gonna put different colors into this one so I can show you how to change from 1 yard to the next. And I put breaking in also in the title, because when you get these machines, don't just get them and start cranking the shit out of them. Yeah, you can go fast with these things, and you can buy these adapters where you can use a like a cordless drill, or an electric drill, or you can buy these little motors and put on them. The plastic on the inside, if you don't have it like lubricated somehow, and I mean either with dry, like I think it's like the graphite powder or whatnot. If you don't have it with like some kind of dry lubricant, this stuff gets real hot. In fact, my daughter and I were making hats one night, and we had probably made close to 50 hats or so in like 6-7 hours. Like we were cranking them out, and that's a lot. Like cranking out 2 hats an hour is a lot of like cranking and getting it right and tying it and doing, especially when you have to unspool yarn. And we were having to unspool yarn, spool it back onto these like paper towel things so that we could use the machines, because the skeins that we had were normal skeins, and the machine, I don't know if it was smoking, or if it was like the lubricant that I used on the machines, but I had taken them apart and I lubricated each and every pin on it, all 48 hooks, and I looked up online on Reddit, I believe, and looked up what kind of lubricant to use, and it didn't help it at all. In fact, it made it worse. It made it where the machine wanted to like bog down. So you've got to be real like peculiar and gentle with these machines, or they will not work for you. I've not been keeping up with my, and the reason I use 2 counters is because, like I said, eventually this counter on the machine, it's going to fail. It's only a matter of time before the plastic in there, the little mechanism, spring pops the wrong way or whatnot. Let me shut this window. Hold on, it's hotter than hell. Yeah, it's 80 degrees in the house, so I reckon it is hot. All right, so we've got 24 rows We're going to do 30. Because I like to do about 120 rows with this particular yarn. And I'm going to do 30 so I can change it out 4 different times. 4 times 30 is 120. But that way each row of the colors themselves or the particular yarn is equal. And I'll show you something cool. It's an effect that the machine does that you can use to your benefit as well. I don't know if you can see it from there right now or not, but right here. Okay. Let me see if I can raise this up there where you can see it. See like how it looks like it's going up and down like a little wave pattern or whatnot? That's from the way the hooks grab the yarn. So every time you change, like if you're using just a solid color, you won't ever see that. But if it changes from one color to the next, like you see the orange to the green, you can see it. Also, if you change from one yarn to the next, especially if it's a different color, you'll get that effect as well. So you change yarns a lot, you get a lot of these little, like, I call it like herringbone or houndstooth or whatever kind of jargon you want to use. It's like just a little up and down. And it looks good on the hats. I'll be honest with you, when you've got a bunch of colors like that and you switch it back and forth, they come out really nice. And the better yarn you use, of course, the better quality hat you're going to have. I just take them, hold them together side by side, tie a square knot. There's this thing called the magic knot. I'll show you all how to make that maybe here in a minute, but it only takes like a couple minutes, but it's such a pain in the ass to do. I swear, you got to tie these little knots and then pull the string tight and then tie another one. All right, let's see. 30. And I'm cranking this kind of slow. This is a size 3 yarn, I believe. You don't ever want to go much bigger than that. You can use a size 4 of some yarns, but like most of the average, like medium weight acrylics that you get that are like size 4, they're going to be way too thick to go through the tensioner and the machine, and you will drop stitches. It will heat up your machine unnecessarily, and you'll probably end up ruining it. I've done it like 2 machines. As soon as we got them, cranked out like 3-4 hats, and then open it up and you see where there's like a groove just melted where where it gets so hot pulling because it's having to pull that yarn through there, and the friction just it heats it up. It ruins it. So we'll go from 30 to 60 with this new yarn, or with this color yarn here. This is going to be like the white and kind of antique white, whatever it is, from this mandala yarn. And remember, this is all Walmart yarn that I'm using on this one. The one that I just showed you, this is yarn from Michael's. This is yarn from Hobby Lobby. You can get yarn from just about anywhere as long as it's the right size, within that size range, and make some pretty decent hats with these machines, and you can make a few dollars off of them. That's, again, initially what my daughter and I set out to do, is have like, a little cutesy family business between she and I, that she could kind of call the shots and run and have her name on it. And then I told her, whenever you get old enough that if you're an adult, if you're making money with it, or you've earned a degree and you want to take it farther and do whatever, go for it. I said, if you want to keep it on the side as just a hobby or a weekend thing, or go to farmers markets. I know we met a lot of people over the last year doing this that also take part in stuff like this, making handmade stuff, and go into little bazaars and farmers markets and stuff like that. And it's not just good to make some pocket change, but it's good family time. You learn a craft or a trade that you can, if you needed to, you can make hats, or these things make sweaters. They can make flat panels where you can make scarves and mittens, all kinds of stuff. Vests, you can make pants with them. So these machines they come in handy. If you've got yarn and you've got the machine, you can pretty much make just about anything that you have the pattern for it or know how to do it, right? Like these small, let me show you this small machine. Hold on. Okay, so this is a 48 pin, the one that's right here. This in my hand is 22 pins, okay? It's a lot smaller, well, not a lot, but it's half the size basically, right? Let me show you this, just for comparison, right? So it's that big, and it basically can just about fit inside of this one. And we've looked up some of the patterns and stuff that you can use for this one, but you make these tubes like this. You can make sleeves to, again, sweaters. You can make legs to pants. You get wool or say acrylic, like sweatpant material. You can get cotton. Again, wool, like if you want waterproof or something that's real warm. Y'all, you can make whatever you need, and they work. Like we have our own hats that we made last year. I've worn mine, I don't know, a couple hundred times or 100 times, and the thing is never like unraveled on me, come apart. And again, it matters how good you are at making stuff, but if you can do the basic function of these machines, tie your knots, make sure that it comes off the machine together so that it doesn't unravel, fall apart, it's very, very handy. You can use it, again, make money, have stuff to wear, keep yourself in clothes. If God forbid some kind of catastrophe ever happens and you've got to make your own clothes because you can't go to the store anymore, hey, that's how people used to do it, except they did it all by hand. They didn't have the machines till later on. So, all right, we're at 60. So let me see here. We're going to go to 90 with this one. And now this is going to go, you're going to see this white right here at the top start to turn back dark again, and you're going to see that little pattern pop up, and it's going to look like, little green teeth biting down into that white yarn. And when it starts getting this long, you'll notice the machine is only about 8 to 10 inches tall. So once the hat gets that tall, it's going to start to hit the counter or whatever you've got it sitting on. So you're going to want to change that. I'll show you what to use here if I've got them handy. With this yarn, at about 75 stitches, I think, is when it hits the counter. We're at 70 right now. 71, 72, 73. Now when it starts dragging like that, you can drop stitches. It makes it harder to crank, puts a lot more friction on. Again, anytime it's touching something it's not supposed to touch, or that's not part of the process that that is making the hat, it's going to cause an issue. So like this, when it hits the counter underneath, it's pushing against the natural physics of it wanting to fall down, right? So you got to kind of do like this, fold it up, get it to where it's up above this so that it can start to go back down again as it's feeding through. So we're at 75, we're gonna go to 90. And you also want to make sure that you've not got any yarn like that that's going to get caught when it's coming around here, because you can do that as well. My little kitty's watching the yarn spool off of this paper towel thing. What you doing, boy? Come here. Hey. Come here. Come here, buddy boy. This is my new cat here. This is Pickles. Hey, buddy. You want to get down? You want to get down? I thought he was fun, but he just let himself kind of fall down on his side. I know you want some love. All right. I can give you some love, and then I got to catch his hand. Hey, buddy. I know. I spoiled what you were doing. Okay. We got 11 more. He's got his foot resting on the yarn, and every time it comes around to spool off, he lifts his little foot. All right, thank you. You didn't like that one, did you? I'm sorry. Almost done. Hit 3. 4. And I actually messed up because I wanted to end the hat with this color. You've got to plan this right, because if you just stick it on there and go, it's randomly going to put whatever color you land on at the center of your hat and in the middle, right? If you want specific colors to be in the hat, you have to plan where it's going to be ahead of time. But it's kind of reversed, because when I first started learning how to like pattern the colors, I'd be like, okay, I've got to start with this color if I want to end with this color. And I'd start with a certain color, and then I'd end with that color. I figured out, okay, I've got to make sure that it's, you've got to figure it out just right, and especially like the distance and how many inches it is from this or that. But we'll go ahead to 90 and then just finish it off with the other yarn, because it's just a pain in the ass. 87, 88, 89, 90. Let's see how much yarn we got. I only got that much. So that's probably 10 rows. Let's see what we got. We're at 90 right now. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, we're going to have more than 10. 10. And, no, well, maybe not. No, 10. All right. I called that one all right. Okay, let's see here. Where's my... Y'all, I ain't lying. I am burning up. Alright, so we're at 100 rows right now. Still not enough. I'm gonna go with a darker color because this is gonna center. Let's see. Let me figure out. That's gonna be the inside of the hat, which is gonna be the outside. All right, because here's what you got to figure out when you first tie it. The inside of your hat, that what's going to be the inside while you're putting it together, eventually turns out being the outside of your hat. And the outside, when you're making it, ends up becoming the inside. So you have to figure out, okay, what's the inside, which is the outside. The inside of the hat, hold on just a second. The inside of the hat is going to be the part that's down here at the bottom, right? So whatever you pull off of here at the end, that's going to be the top of your hat. So whatever color you want to be at the very top of your hat, you want it to be the very last color you pull off. So we want that darker color. Pink would look good on top of this hat. A dark pink would look good. Let me see if I can get it out of this skein right here. I don't know if I can find the end of this yarn or not. Oh, I found it. Man, that was lucky. Alright, we're going to use this color because it's too dark. It's not pink, but it's whatever. So we're going to use this color. Alright, here I told you all I'd show you the magic knot, right? Okay, here's what you do for a magic knot. Take your two strings, you got two of them. You're going to take your first string, go about 5-6 inches up onto your other string, and you're going to tie a square knot around that other string with the one you're making the knot out of. So you take your knot, you pull it tight. Okay, so now you've got a string like that tied onto another string about that far up. Now you take the little end of your string that you just tied the knot onto, and you're going to use it to tie a knot onto this one in the same fashion, so that both of them are tied onto each other with a little old square knot, right? And what you're going to have is where they both make a little loop. One's tied onto the other, okay? You hold both ends, and they come to each other like that, right? Then you just take your scissors, cut the spare off. That's called a magic knot, and it is very resilient. It's very hard to like pull out because you've got two knots pulling against each other on two separate strings, but they're also joined into each other. So it's a very, very stout knot, especially for a hat. Like, you don't need excessive, like special knots, but that one is a good one for knitting, crocheting, sewing, stuff like that. I got it out of a book that was for crocheting and knitting. Alright, so now we've got this one tied in. We're at 101 rows. We're going to go to 120. Oh, this one is real tight right here. Yep, I'm going to have to pull this out before I crank it, because it's just pulling too hard, and I think I've already dropped one stitch. Nope, okay, luckily I didn't drop a stitch, but because I decided to come out of the middle of this skein like that so I get that dark color, the rest of the yarn is pushing against it, so it's barely pulling it out. So I had to basically pull it out of the skein first and just drop it on the ground so that it will feed into here without catching and pulling on that skein. And then when it starts to get where it's picking up off the ground, I need to feed it some more. pick some more off there because it will start pulling again if it's even like lateral. You've got to have it straight vertical down coming into the machine like that. We're at 104. I think it just skipped one. See, that's why I don't like these counters. I think it went from 104 to 106. Let me just keep up with it here and see. 8. I hate how we pull it out of the screen like that. This is slow going. When you've got to like pull it out of the skein like that and basically feed it into the machine, it's a slow process. But since I'm only on the last like 10, 15 rows, I don't mind doing it. Because you got to get the hat done. You've already got 100-something rows. It's either throw away the hat or do it the way you got to do it. But you wear these machines out good enough and it'll get to the point where at one point I was having to feed it like into the hooks and just skip the tensioner altogether because it would drop every stitch that went through the tensioner. And again, I don't know how the physics of these things work, but some it'll do that, some it won't, depending on like the condition of the machine, and then depending on the yarn, all that stuff. Like some will work, some won't. Like the worn out machines that I've got kind of as backups, they'll work with the Michael's yarn that's real stretchy and flexible, but they will not work with these yarns right here anymore. With the ombre or the mandala, they refuse to keep stitches. They drop every one of them. All right, this is 120 right there. All right. So when you finish, you get the last row that you're going to do, cut off about 1.5 feet of yarn so that it's hanging off of your tensioner like that. Then get your yarn out your way so you can handle your machine. So what I like to do is turn the machine around. So now the tensioner is going to be facing the camera, which is going to be facing away from me. So I'm going to be back behind the machine, behind the tensioner, and now the handle or the crank is over on my left instead of my right. I'll show you why I do this. When I started the video, I was taking the last hat off of the machine. It's called casting off, and I've got too much yarn on here. Cut some of it off. But when you cast off, all that is taking your machine off their product, craft, whatever, hat, off the machine. You're not taking the machine off anything. Oh shit, here we go. Like there, I almost dropped that stitch, but. And when you first start, it's good to go ahead and get about 10 stitches off the pegs before you try and crank more than just 1 or 2 at a time, because if you crank through a bunch and then you're trying to get all up like I just did, it's very, very tight until you've got like some slack. So do only like 4 or 5, maybe 3 at a time until you get maybe 1/4 of the way, halfway around the hat. When you get about halfway around the hat, then you've got enough slack that you can start picking up 7 or 8 at a time. And you just get them on the needle like that. I've got like 7 or 8 on there. Pull it on through. I picked up those stitches. Here's another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now if I were to drop this needle right now and drop it backwards back through these, every one of these stitches would still be sitting here, and I'd have to try and pick them up before they pull through that first layer of stitches where they're knitted through, because once they start doing that, it is a hellacious job to try and pick these things back up and get it sorted out. Like you have to go, it's I'm not even going to try and explain it, but it's crazy. And you got to do it for each and every one. So say you drop like 10 stitches in a row, hang it up, start your stuff over again. 2 stitches, maybe. You can probably pick up 2 stitches. Anything more than 2, you get to 3 maybe, it's almost not worth it. Alright, so let me show you what I got here. So this is what we just got off the machine, right? And this is the dark color that I was telling you about, okay? This is the very last color that went onto the machine, right here, okay? So I tighten it up. You want to make sure everything, like nothing's bent back up under itself or anything like that. So you pull it as tight as you can get it, right? Then I take the yarn needle and I skip over 1, but then I go right back through the very tops, if I can get them, all of these stitches, and I go back around again to just give it an extra, stitch through there. That way, if somebody's rough with it, they put it in the washing machine. And oh, by the way, don't put these in the washing machine if you can help it, y'all. If you do, I can't promise you anything, but we had somebody buy some hats from us last year, and when we went back by to check and see how they liked them, the girl who bought one for herself from the place was like, hey, I put mine in the washing machine and it completely came apart, or not came apart, but she was like, it turned inside out and I can't get it back fixed. And I was like, well, if it just turned inside out, then turn it right side out, like what's the problem? She was like, well, like the stitches, something. And I'm like, see, basically you pulled it apart or it unraveled or whatever. She's like, sorta. Like, we'll make you another one, but like, who takes a handcraft or a hand spun thing like that and without even like look? I was like, did you look up online like whether or not you're supposed to do that? She's like, no. I'm like, great job. Okay. So this was the last color off. Remember that. Last color off, the first one that I cinch up and tie. Then I take the string and I hold it in my mouth like this so I can let it hang. Take the bottom, just like you're almost putting on a pillowcase, and pull it up like this. See that? Pull it up, take that, and start to pull it tight, just like this. And it tightens up around this. Now, I tighten it up like this so I can do something right here for a second. I shorten this by about half. You don't need that much yarn on this side with what you're about to do. And what you're going to do is exactly what I did with the first one. You're going to put your yarn needle back on. Okay? And you go right back through, starting right here. Let's see, make sure where it's coming out of. Yep. Okay, so it's coming. Don't go back, like accidentally go backwards or back through where it's coming out, because then you'll literally be dropping your stitches. But keep going around and go right in these loops where the yarn is already at the top. Just go all the way through. Now I'm going to hold this like this so that I can see it better. And I'm just grabbing each and every one of these. See where I'm getting right there? At the top. I'm getting every one of those at the top, right across there. I'm grabbing all those. Pull it through. Get the rest of them. Hey girl, what you doing, baby? What you doing, baby? Seeing what I'm up to? This is Pumpkin. She's my little girl cat. Got a little boy and a little girl. And Pumpkin is the girl. She kind of keeps the house in order. Don't you, girl? Don't you keep everything in order? Alright, so now once I've gotten all the way around, okay? I'm going to pull it up here. I said I'm going to pull it up above the other one. Pull it where both strings are side by side now, and the inside is right up under this top one, okay? I'm going to show you this. I'm going to cut it about like that. I don't do this with all of them, but I'm going to start doing it with all of them again. Put both yarns through the yarn needle. This is what's going to save those hats where somebody accidentally or unknowingly puts it in a machine and does something stupid. You take both of them, you go right down in here into these stitches like this, pull it into that one, and I'm pulling it through the exact same loops, if you can get them in there, that I've got the other stuff through. And if you can go down and catch the bottom, like the other layer, and kind of grab it with the needle and the yarn, that's even better. If you can't, it's okay. But do like that. Then you make you a knot. So you can tie it off. Alright, we're just going to do it like this. Good tight square knot. Now, you may think, well, that's a nice looking hat. We're done, right? No, we're not done. Because remember, the color that we want on the top is that dark color. We didn't want orange on the top. This is going to be on the inside. So we flip it inside out like that. There's that dark color that we wanted. And look how nice that top looks. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And then, because we used 30, 30, 30, 30, right here in the exact middle, which is right here, because you've got the ends pulled together, you've got the color stopping right on the crease, and you've got a pretty decent looking kind of winter hat. Probably too small for my big head, but it don't look bad. I've already stretched that one out. That one will have to be mine. But anyways, yeah. So that's how you make a hat on these things, y'all. Let me know any kind of tips or hints that you might have, questions you might have. Again, we're still pretty new to the whole making this stuff, and I have not tried making panels yet, which is how you make the blankets and like panels for quilts and stuff like that. So anybody that kind of has got a easy way to start or do that, drop it in here. Let me know, y'all. So have a good one. I'll see y'all later.